If you're on a quest to experience a magical life, you need to understand signs, omens, and synchronicities. My name is Anna Bellissima. I am an extremely powerful magician, as of course are you. And dear ones, listen, if you are a very intelligent person with a short attention span like me, adjust the playback of this lesson to 1.25 speed. You will get all the information in less time, and this helps me immensely when I am in the Mercury current. Now, as an announcement, the information I share on this channel can change your life to an overall experience of joy and bliss instead of suffering. So it would therefore be sensible to subscribe and click the little picture of a bell so you get to learn it all. So to the subject at hand, signs, omens, and synchronicities. In other words, the fundamentals of augury, which is the practice of reading and of making sense of portents. I'm going to share with you some ways to attract and respond to these nods from the universe, but first some foundational understanding. Let's define our terms and look at some examples. As far as I can tell, through my extensive reading, the difference between a sign and an omen is far too subtle to be of much interest to me, although I do note that omen is more frequently used as an indicator of a negative event. However, a sign is an object, quality, event, or entity whose presence indicates the presence of something else. An object, quality, event, or entity whose presence indicates the presence of something else. It is something that indicates something else. And of course, whether the something else it indicates is desired or feared by you is somewhat besides the point. Some signs you will know, such as the white feather indicating the presence of a departed loved one, or breaking a mirror starting a run of bad luck, and these are more or less culturally accepted, while others are very personal to the individual. If you don't already have a suite of signs that you recognize immediately as your wink from the Great Mystery, then I advise you to take a moment or two now to decide on one or two. These would be something that you don't see all the time, like, for example, a black car, but that does have a mundane means of manifestation in your typical environment. So, for example, some of my signs are white horses, biplanes, vintage sports cars, foxes, and pink ribbons. Synchronicities are rather similar but more elaborate. Carl Jung, the psychologist and psychiatrist who gave us analytical psychology and the concept of the shadow, developed the principle of synchronicity in the 1960s to describe the occurrence of circumstances or events that appear meaningfully related but where no causal connection is apparent. Events or situations that appear related but where there is no causal connection. The only thing they have in common is their meaning. So the simplest example of synchronicity is when you think of your Aunt Daphne just moments before the telephone rings, but you may have experienced the more baroque and intricate stories that unfold when we respond to these synchronicities in a kind of dance. About 6 months ago, I gave a 3-card tarot reading to a lady I had known for a few years on the internet but never met in person. I don't think she gave me a question for the reading, but the message that came through for her was unequivocal. The Great Mystery is calling you. Purchase some incense, start meditating, and listen to your intuition. About 3 weeks later, about 3 weeks after the reading, I woke up in bed from a very insistent dream that had just one word for me. Augur, A-U-G-U-R. So I woke up and of course looked up the definition and read this. An augur was a priest in classical Rome whose main role was the practice of augury, interpreting the will of the gods by studying the behavior of birds. Later the same day, I received a message from my tarot client who wanted me to know, and I quote, "I've been burning Nag Champa and there's a crow eating out of my hand. I feel like the universe is speaking." So far so wild, right? So I took this story, because this kind of story delights me, to my magical community, and much later that evening I logged on and saw this. Anna, the most beautiful thing just happened. I am planning a spell and need to buy soil from the spirit at the local crossroads. This morning I read a couple of posts here, including yours, which I pondered on for a moment, and I decided to go and look for a crossroads to trade what I need from the spirits. After wandering and making a couple of wrong stops, I sat down in the park feeling defeated. In that moment, I remembered a crossroads near my place, beautiful classical architecture and massive trees. I went there and asked the spirit if it was okay to take some soil. I was standing there thinking, how will I know if the answer is real or if it's just my imagination? Then out of the corner of my eye, I saw a huge flock of pigeons pecking on the ground, and then I looked across the street and saw this beautiful facade of a building, and between sculptures of angels, a huge engraved sign read Augury in big golden capital letters. How did this sign appear right now, and not once did I notice it before? Of course, I had my answer. So why does synchronicity happen, and how can we engage in a dance with it? The purpose of synchronicity is to take us out of our ordinary state of consciousness. An ordinary state of consciousness being roll out of bed, get to work, go to the supermarket, complain about the sore hip and the need to pay taxes. A sign or synchronicity is a nudge, a bell, a surprise that jolts us out of this very compelling but limiting reality, and it jolts our conscious awareness into a state of wow, whoa, the remembrance that there is far more at work and at play in the universe than we can immediately see and hear around us. A sign or synchronicity teases us to loosen our grip on reality, which inevitably involves suffering, and in that state we feel our awareness expand. We sense our connection to everything else in the universe. Synchronicities deliver one of two gifts. Either they are providing you guidance or counsel, pointing you to the next step on your path. So that would be something like meeting an old friend in a coffee shop who can set up an introduction, which leads to an opportunity. Or they are delivering to you a personal acknowledgement, a wink from the universe to confirm your power and your magic. So if, for example, you are somebody who frequently sees repeated number sequences when you look at a digital clock, that's the purpose of those kind of synchronicities. The universe is telling you your intuition is strong. Now go out and learn a new way to play this game. Now, as seems to be true with almost everything I speak about, the trick to creating more synchronicity is to be deliberate, earnest, and diligent in your commitment to experiencing more synchronicity. That means paying attention to what is happening around you rather than dwelling in your thoughts. The moment you decide to experience more synchronicity rolls in. And the more you demonstrate your commitment to seeing, experiencing, and responding to synchronicity, the more powerful the flow. And you can demonstrate this through performing ceremonial magic or daily ritual, or through other spiritual practices like meditation, creating a hyper sigil, drawing tarot cards, interpreting dreams, and so on. But of course, this cannot be forced. This is our old friend, attachment to outcome. And the easiest way to address that particular vice is through my quick and dirty alchemy protocol, which I will link for you below. If a synchronicity has shown up to give you a wink and acknowledgement of your power, the way to respond is simply to breathe it in, bask in it, thank the universe, and accept the sign as a confirmation of your part in the dance of creation. You can even decide right now that every synchronicity you experience gives you a kind of energetic upgrade, and you permanently expand your awareness and boost your creative battery. If, on the other hand, a synchronicity is showing you towards your path, and you will need to exercise discernment in deciding what synchronicity or sign is fulfilling what purpose for you right now, then the course of action is slightly different. You need to acknowledge your gratitude to the universe for the clear signpost. Isn't that what you've been asking for? Show me a sign, O Lord. And yes, you do have to follow through with action. Ignore these synchronicities at your peril. Not that any danger will befall you, but if you ask for synchronicity or miracles or guidance and you get them, well, you have an obligation to keep your side of the bargain. And I very much hope that you do, because that's how one finds oneself wearing antlers on YouTube. You must follow the path, and you don't have to know where it's taking you. As my beloved St. Augustine said, solvitur ambulando, by walking it is solved. In other words, we find out where we're going by going. Yes, it will be scary. The unknown always is. But please know that although action is compulsory, you do not have to take action immediately in a rushed way or without due consideration. So when a path is given, I invite you to sit with it and let it percolate through your body, your emotional field, and your thoughts for a few days. And in the meantime, while you're looking out for other synchronicities and signs, you can ask your dreams, your intuition, the universe for more confirmation, more reassurance, and you will receive further guidance to clarify and confirm the details of what you need to do so that you can move forward when you are not activated by fear. I would love to hear from you about the synchronicities that you've experienced. Thank you so much for being here with me today, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.